They say everything can change in a single night, and I used to think that was just something people said. But now, I know better. I know that a quiet motel room, a broken-down car, and an unresolved day can collide into something you never saw coming. My name is Claire, and up until that weekend, I thought I had a clear picture of who I was. Married, predictable, steady, but life is a way of revealing the cracks you pretend aren't there, and sometimes it does so with devastating clarity. It all began with what should have been a simple trip. My husband, Dan, had been living in Colorado for work, while I stayed back in Arizona, keeping the house together and trying to maintain what was left of a dwindling connection. We spoke less and less. When we did talk, it was all logistics, bills, groceries, weather, the kind of conversations you could have with a roommate. What we didn't talk about was the distance that had crept between us emotionally and physically. And over time, I stopped asking for more. That Saturday, I asked my stepson, Tyler, to drive me out to Dan's job site. It was supposed to be a chance to reconnect with my husband. But what I didn't expect was how the drive would uncover something else entirely. Tyler had just turned 24. Confident, a bit sarcastic, and with that easy charm he'd had since his teenage years. We'd always gotten along, more like friends and family. I'd known him since he was 12, seen him grow into himself. But I never looked at him twice. Not until that drive. It started innocently. Me, teasing him about his slow driving, him throwing it right back with that crooked smile of his. We laughed. The windows were down, music low. It almost felt like a road trip between two old friends. But 2 hours in, the car started sputtering. Tyler cursed under his breath and pulled to the shoulder. The engine had completely died. No warning, no signal. Just gone. We were stuck. No cell service. No help nearby. After some back-and-forth bickering and an exhausting hour trying to reach anyone, Tyler managed to contact a mechanic in the next town over who couldn't see us until morning. We had no choice but to stay overnight in the tiny town of Ridgeton, the kind of place where the diner and the gas station share a roof. One motel, one room, one bed. I wasn't thrilled. Tyler went in to get the key while I leaned against the car, arms crossed, heart pounding, not from fear, but from something I couldn't quite name yet. Maybe it was just frustration, maybe something else. The room was modest, a single queen bed, a buzzing overhead light, wallpaper curling at the edges. No luxury here. I let out a groan and dropped my bag on the floor. This is it. I muttered, glancing around. Tyler chuckled behind me. Not exactly 5-star, Claire, but it'll do. I shot him a look, but the humor in his eyes caught me off guard. It lingered longer than it should have. I looked away. I need a shower before I melt, I said, brushing past him. Go ahead, he said, kicking off his sneakers and flopping back onto the bed like he owned it. I'll guard the kingdom. I didn't look at him again, but I felt the shift. Inside the tiny bathroom, I stood in front of the mirror. I was 44, not young, but I didn't feel old either. I looked tired, a little flushed. My skin was still dewy from the heat, my hair curling at the edges. I stepped under the water and let it wash over me, trying to drown the thoughts rising in my chest. I told myself this tension was just stress, just discomfort from a strange night. But when I stepped back into the room wearing nothing but a robe, the air changed. Tyler had showered too. His damp hair curled slightly at the ends, and his robe clung to his frame. He was stretched out across the bed, one arm over his eyes, breathing slow, chest bare where the robe had fallen open. I froze in the doorway. I stared longer than I should have, and something in me stirred. Not shame, not yet, just awareness. I tiptoed across the room and turned off the light, slipping under covers, careful to stay on my side. But it was a small bed. His warmth drifted across the space between us, and even though I faced a wall, I was wide awake, every part of me alert, every breath calculated. Somewhere deep into the night, I stirred, and I wasn't the only one. I could feel him watching me. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to sleep, but my heart beat wildly in my chest. I heard the soft shuffle of sheets. I opened one eye sliver and saw him, pulling on a pair of shorts, his robe hanging open. He glanced at me, hesitated, then sat in the wooden chair by the window. He didn't say anything. He just sat there, shirtless, bathed in the pale glow of the outside light, looking at me like he wanted to speak but didn't trust the words. Minutes passed. I couldn't pretend anymore. I sat up, letting the sheet fall from my shoulder. His gaze sharpened. I swallowed hard. "You're making it hard to stay calm," I whispered. Tyler didn't move. "I don't know what this is, Claire, but it's not nothing." My breath caught. I stood slowly and walked toward the chair across from him, taking a seat. The silence between us was thick. "Charged. When I saw you earlier," I said, voice low, "I felt something I haven't felt in a long time." He didn't speak. He didn't need to. I stood and took a deep breath, then walked toward the bed. Maybe we stopped pretending. The air shifted. I reached behind me, slowly unzipped my dress, letting it fall to the floor. I felt exposed, not just physically, but in every way that mattered. He rose from the chair, his eyes on mine. He moved toward me, one step at a time, his hands finally finding my waist. The moment our lips met, it was slow, deliberate, like crossing a line we both knew we shouldn't, but didn't want to stay behind anymore. I don't know how long we stayed like that, but afterward, as I lay beside him, breath slowing, heart racing, I felt something heavy and clear settle over me. This wasn't just a lapse. It was a revelation, a reminder of who I used to be before everything got so numb. The next morning, Tyler packed the car while I stood in front of the mirror, robe tied tight, mascara slightly smudged. He came back in, gave me a quiet smile. "Car's fixed. Time to go." The drive was quiet. I kept stealing glances at him, wondering how he could look so calm. But maybe he wasn't. Maybe he just wore it better. We picked up then like nothing had happened. Tyler joked with his dad. I smiled and nodded, trying not to shake. But that night, in Dan's apartment, as he snored softly beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The motel room, Tyler's touch, the truth that had snuck in and rewritten something inside me. We didn't speak of it again. Not really. But 2 weeks later, at a family barbecue, Tyler found my eyes across the yard. He didn't smile. Not quite, but something passed between us. That night in the motel, it happened, and whether I liked it or not, it woke me up.